This is the guy to fight KSI. So after KSI's sensational performance knocking out FaZe Temper, of course the Suits at Misfits had to get to matching KSI up with his next opponent. And who happened to saunter upon the post-fight interview than one Joe Fournier.
Joe Fournier, I want a piece of that.
And I love, it's across all combat sports, but these little setups that are not supposed to be scripted, and it's like, oh, I just happened to fall upon you having, oh, now let's stay for, it's like, dude, come on. Could these things be any less inorganic? And so especially in the influencer boxing scene, you know when two guys happen upon each other in a post-fight and they're talking trash, it's basically guaranteed that they're going to be setting up a fight together. It was also rumored that Fournier was the backup for Dylan Dennis after that fight fell through, and then they ended up going with Temper. I think it's a safe assumption to say that this fight is going to happen, but I got to looking up some Fournier highlights, and honestly, man, why is he stepping in there with KSI? This is one of those things that happens a lot in combat sports, but especially, again, I know I'm talking about this a lot, but again, in the influencer boxing scene where a guy, and Fournier's record, by the way, 9-0 with 9 knockouts, a guy will look perfect on paper, but if you actually look at who he's fought and at how he fights, you start to see the real reality of the situation, which is that Joe Fournier is going to get knocked out by KSI. Just look up at literally any, there's a Joe Fournier, supposed to be a sizzle reel of his best knockouts, and you'll see that he's slow, he's not very mobile, he doesn't throw a lot, he's not a volume guy, he keeps his hands down in his hips, and guys are not even willing to engage with him in there. Guess what happened with the only guy, and it doesn't show up on his box rec record for some reason, but guess what happened when there was a dude who was willing to engage him in there, and it was retired heavyweight champion David Hayes. David Hayes, listen, I'll put up the judges' scorecards on the screen right now. David Hayes absolutely smoked him, and that was the only dude that was willing to stand there and trade with him. Now, if Fournier's watching this in 2 years' time, or however long it takes me, hopefully, to blow up with this channel, this is not an indication of who he is as a human being. I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but in this channel, I dabble in what I believe to be the facts, analysis on matchups, news, critiques of style and, you know, technique and all this different type of stuff. So this is strictly about Fournier's skill as a boxer. It happens so much, man, because it's really, you know, he's going to go in there and he's going to keep his hands low. KSI is going to come forward. Fournier's not going to have the mobility to be able to circle out and deal with that pressure. KSI is going to knock him spark out, and it's going to look good on his record. It's going to pad his campaign to get over to Jake. But in reality, if you take a deeper look, this fight doesn't make a whole lot of sense, man. It's not even like the guy's a name. You know, like, I didn't know who Joe Fournier was. The name sort of rung a bell, but that was probably because he fought David Hayes. We got to stop doing this in influencer boxing, and it happens a little bit too in regular combat sports where we just get these guys in there to make other dudes look good, to make the stars look good. KSI, Jake Paul. With Jake, it's like, okay, yeah, so there's certain questions that you could ask after each of his performances. With Anderson Silva, it's like, okay, he's an old guy. You know, Jake graduated from a basketball player, then he goes up to a retired MMA guy, you know, and he's kind of climbing the ranks, but in a way that, like, makes sense. There's a pathway there. With KSI, he goes from fighting a YouTube boxer to Joe Fournier. The only reason Fournier's getting the opportunity to go in there is because of the optic of his record and what it would look like to have on KSI's record. And that's my biggest problem with this fight. And that's why, quite frankly, I don't think this fight should take place. Say what you want about Dennis's level of commitment and how he treated it, right? And I have a video coming out about that soon. Dennis would have been a much better fight for KSI than Fournier. And literally, I mean, there's got to be someone else, man. There has to be someone else. I refuse to believe that this is the only matchup to be made for the Englishman. KSI's got to get hip to what's going on in the rest of the influencer combat sports scene, or else he's going to fall behind. He is a talent, he is a name, no doubt about it, but he's got to do better than Joe Fournier. With that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, as well as more content or different types of content that you'd like to see on the channel. I also opened up an RSS feed for all my interviews, going to put the audio up there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.